Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPaWrites here again, and today I wanted to talk about the Tessellation in Destiny 2, the brand new exotic fusion rifle you get from pre-ordering the final shape. You do get it immediately, so I wanted to talk about how good this weapon is, whether it's useful in PvE or PvP, and also whether it is pay to win, which I've seen some people talking about. So, first and foremost, this weapon is very interesting. It's the only weapon in the game currently that allows you to run fully strand or fully stasis build. What I mean by that is you can have strand in your primary, energy, and heavy slot, or same thing with stasis, because it has the intrinsic perk property undecidable. This weapon adapts its damage type to match your equipped subclass. Final blows grant grenade energy. It also has another perk which is really nice called property irreducible. You hold square or long press that reload button to consume your grenade to load a large projectile that generates an elemental explosion on impact. Now, this might be disabled before you see this video just because there is a bug currently going around that makes it infinite massive explosions on the Arc Warlock subclass. So if you see this after that and it has been disabled, you might not be able to use this in the world's first raid. But once that is fixed, I do want to get into the strengths and weaknesses of this weapon because it is quite good. And if you're going to see this in the background gameplay, you are also seeing me play a little Crucible. This is just kind of a fun match that I used, and it was pretty much the first time I used it. So that's why I'm using it, because I'm not really heavily editing the footage or anything like that, just because I wanted to get a realistic kind of viewpoint of this weapon in PvP. PvE, I think everyone knows what it does. Anyway, so jumping right into it. In PvP, it's actually a very consistent fusion rifle. I will say that completely. And it benefits from running the subclass that you're having on and generating like fire sprites, for example, on solar. And so you're doing that consistently. It does mean this weapon is very, very versatile. It is consistent, and I think it's a solid fusion rifle. If you are crafting the perfect fusion rifle, like a legendary or something, it's probably going to be better than this thing in PvP. But if you just want to slap something on regardless of build and just have a very consistent fusion rifle you can use all the time, this is going to be a good option. Again, because you can only get it from pre-ordering the final shape, I know there are going to be PvP players who are upset about this and might say that it is pay to win. I disagree, because I don't think this is the best in slot for PvE or PvP outside of that bug that I mentioned. It's good but not great in a lot of areas. It's fun but not mandatory in any build or anything like that. As far as PvE goes, yeah, it's solid. It does work, again, with a lot of builds. If you are the type of player who wants to throw something on, get comfortable with a weapon and just use it consistently, keep a similar build, or have multiple builds but with the same weapons, this is the perfect opportunity for you to do that. And I do like that aspect. Same thing with the, for example, if you are using a strand build, you can throw on the option, the fragment that allows you to generate make your strand weapons have unraveling rounds. So you can do that with something like this as well. And that's just really nice overall. It just adds another layer to what this can do, and it does make it just very versatile. But that means that the problem that this weapon does have is it's wide and not deep. What I mean by that is this weapon is good at a lot of things, but not great at anything specifically. And so, oftentimes, if you're a long-time player, if you have a very deep vault, if you have a lot of options to choose from, this isn't going to be your first choice for a build unless you just don't want to swap things. It's not going to be the best in slot in any case because it doesn't have any perk that's going to allow it to be dominant in PvE or PvP. And that's where it's interesting to me, because if this weapon was absolutely broken, again, outside of that bug, then I would say that it would be pay to win, but I just don't believe it is. I think having these early access exotics, if you pre-order, is not necessarily a bad thing. I do understand that it's something of a slippery slope, but that being said, I think it's not really a big deal from the way they've done it in the past. And we've also seen that with, like, for example, Quicksilver Storm, which got a catalyst once Lightfall dropped, that when the final shape drops, I would not be shocked if this thing is significantly stronger than it is now. That's something to keep in mind. I wouldn't be shocked if that is the case. It looks like a really cool weapon. I do like the whole aesthetic. I think it is a very interesting option. It does stand out more now because it's the only option we have to make triple strand, triple stasis builds. And so that's going to separate it for a little bit. But I think once we get into the final shape, we'll see other options like that down the line. But plus, we'll also see this thing be a bit stronger with whatever they kind of add to it. And so that's really what I'm looking forward to. But anyway, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. Have you used the Tessellation? Have you pre-ordered the final shape? Do you think it is pay to win? I'd love to hear from you guys because it is fascinating to me. I do think it is interesting whenever they have pre-order exotics, and balancing that act of having it be strong enough to be usable but not too strong to make it feel like it's mandatory to pre-order the final shape in order to compete in something like the Crota's End day one raid race this weekend. So I'm glad that's not the case, and that this thing, honestly, like I said, it's probably going to be disabled by the time that does drop. Anyway, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, helps me out tremendously, shows you want to see more Destiny 2 content from me going forward. My name is JoPa. I hope you have a good one. I'll catch you all later.